Welcome to OD Games. My name's Logan Plan, joined today by Zach Ross. What's up, Zach?
The hype is building. I'm excited. I'm ready to talk about some video games.
It is
Preparation
building.
for E3.
We're also joined by Kevin Lean. How's it going, Kevin?
It's going good. Yeah, that hype's been building over the course of 2 years now. Since last year, there
Yes,
was no E3,
exactly.
and it felt a lot different. So, this is big, first E3 in almost 2 years.
It did feel a lot different, and we're going to talk about it in a little bit. But Nintendo announced its E3 Direct. It's going to be that same time slot they always have, that Tuesday of E3 at 9 a.m. So, yeah, it really feels like a return to normalcy, just knowing that we're going to have that time slot, that company, a 40-minute Nintendo Direct. I'm very excited for that. But let's get started with something that happened just moments after we recorded last week, and that was the Horizon Forbidden West State of Play. There's about 14 minutes of gameplay from this thing. And let's start by talking about no release date whatsoever. No release window was even given for this game. And so far, something could change within the next 2 weeks, but so far, Sony is not set to have some presentation around E3. So there's no guarantee we're even going to hear of a release date soon. And then later on in a blog post about God of War, PlayStation said that Horizon they think is still on track for a holiday 2021 release date. They think being the key word there. But are you guys surprised that there was no release date for this thing?
Yeah, I
For a
was
game that's
a little
supposed
bit.
to
Yeah.
be coming out this year, I was really expecting a release date and at least a
Yeah.
release window, but I've been saying that this game's probably getting pushed to next year for a while now. So I think that this is starting to seem like that might be the case. They did say that they're still thinking that it might be holiday 2021, but at this point, if they're not confident enough to even put out a release window on their 15 minutes of gameplay, I don't know how confident I am.
Yeah, I think that this was the moment to show off even just that, oh hey, it's coming out in 2021. And the fact that they didn't have the confidence to say, hey, we think this is going to be coming out by the end of 2021 makes me believe that this is probably going to get pushed. Even though I think Gorilla on their Twitter was like, yeah, we're still planning on it coming out this year or something like that. They said after the presentation, like, yeah, we don't have a release date, but we're still on track, basically. But just considering the fact that it wasn't there and we're halfway through the year now, basically, uh, the odds of this coming out this year are starting to get a little bit lower.
Yeah, well, I I don't know how much to read into this, but I honestly think it's entirely possible they're waiting to see if Zelda's coming out this fall and don't want to come out 2 days before that again. I think that's a legitimate possibility. Maybe they do have a release date in mind, but they're waiting until that June 15th event to try and give it a weekend where it's gonna have the spotlight, which it really didn't have much of when the original came out over 4 years ago. So that's a possibility, or it's just not done. So it's probably more likely that, but we'll have to see. But yeah, the gameplay footage started out with Aloy finding a survivor, and there's some dialogue actions, goes through like a tropical jungle. We see some velociraptor like machines, which is a new type of machine that wasn't in the original. Then there is a underwater swimming section. There's a stealth section with a human battle, and then the entire thing ends with a giant fight against like
An
a
elephant.
A
huge
woolly
yeah,
mammoth or something.
tremor tusk is what it's
Yeah.
called. I was looking
Oh,
for the official name. Yeah, and a big boss fight with some humans there too. We saw some new gameplay mechanics. She's got that glider. There are sections that have free climbing. The underwater thing was entirely new. So how about just some general impressions of this gameplay, Kevin?
It looks gorgeous. The first thing off the bat, the game looks really good. Now they're showing the PS5 version, and this thing's still coming to PS4. So we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see how good that PS4 version looks. But at least the one running on PS5 looks really good. They showed off some of the new combat abilities, especially against the fight, the basically the boss fight at the end with the Tremor Tusk, and you've got this like glue bomb that you can shoot. More like more bomb arrows and stuff. You've got the glider that you can like hop up on and attack enemies from above. I don't know how contextualized that's going to be for certain fights, but
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like there's a lot more options in terms of combat. And the other thing with the swimming section, I was a little disappointed we didn't get to see any sort of like underwater combat. I'm still wondering how that's going to go, because there are machines underwater, so you have to assume that there's some way to fight them. I'm very curious how that's going to go, because usually underwater controls aren't that great. So I'm kind of curious how they're going to pull off the underwater section, because basically what we saw here is swimming underwater, avoiding enemies, and there's certain like riptides that you can use, or you have to like swim against, which could be interesting. I don't know how big of a factor that's going to be, but because the underwater section seems to be a relatively big part of this, I'm still very curious what that underwater combat, I'm assuming is going to look like.
Yeah, I'm in a similar boat. I'm pretty hesitant about underwater combat in general in most video games. Underwater makes things a lot more sluggish and less fun to just do in general, so I wish they had delved into it a little bit more in this presentation, just so we know what we're getting into. But what they did show of the underwater section, swimming around, it looks gorgeous, so at least that's something. The combat does look like it's evolved a little bit. The fight with the Tremor Tusk, there was a lot of different weapons showcased. Like you said, the glue bomb that seemed combustible when you shot it with fire, it exploded, knocked some parts off the Tremor Tusk that Aloy then went to use against it, which I thought was super cool. And there was like this latch on the back of the Tremor Tusk where there was like a basket of humans on top shooting at Aloy, and she shot the latch holding it together, and it collapsed off the back of it. So I thought that the interact ability with the boss was a pretty interesting thing to showcase.
With the interactivity, the first game kind of had it where you had to shoot different parts of the armor, and they have their certain weak points. I can see that being expanded even further now that they do have that glider. Now you can put stuff on top of the enemies to fight against. So I think they could go even more deep into sort of the weaknesses and trying to find everything to exploit on certain enemies.
Yeah, and there was also a demonstration of like a heavier human type enemy with armor, where it showed off like this ultimate ability where a small cutscene played, and then she gave off a shockwave. Yeah, exactly. So she gave off like a shockwave from her spear into the ground that like it was pretty fast. I didn't really catch what happened, but it seemed like it kind of weakened his armor and gave her an opportunity to shoot him in the stomach. Like, I'm not entirely sure what happened there. It seemed pretty cool.
They also
technically, I'm not
show off how you build that up, right? It just kind of happened.
Not to my knowledge. I don't really know.
I assume there's like a bar or something that you fill up.
But there was a lot going on, so it was hard to pinpoint exactly what was coinciding there. So that should be interesting. That's an entirely new mechanic as far as I'm aware. So that should be interesting. And then, other than that, the game looked extremely gorgeous. The voice acting, the returning characters, it all seems up to par with the expectations for this game. I want to know what it looks like on a base PS4. Really bad.
A base PS4, not even a slimmer
absolutely.
Pro. Also, there was that section where you could use the focus and find the spots to grab hold of. Which I think
updated fast travel.
I mean, it's not like climb everywhere, but I think it's also a little bit different than like specifically like, hey, here's like yellow tags in the world that you can see at all times to climb on. I'm hoping that it makes it a little bit more natural to climb with. It was only used in the one section there, but I'm hoping it makes the climbing a bit more natural feeling.
But it looked like there were still some areas that were just yellow tags that you go and climb on.
It's true.
It's like, it's okay. And if it's free climbing, but only in specific areas, is it really free climbing? I don't know. I don't know what I think about that yet. I think it's like, if you're not going to go all in with the free climbing, then what's the point of having, this cliff you can choose to climb however you want? I don't know. That doesn't really do a whole lot for me, but I don't know. That's not a really big deal for me. I don't think every game needs to be like a climb everything game like that. But as far as what it's going to look like on a PS4, PS5, in an interview with Game Informer, the game director basically said that the game was developed on a PS4 and then upgraded for a PS5.
Okay.
And and it sounds like it might be the same for all of these games that are cross-gen, that they are PS4 games that they then optimize for PlayStation 5, and then they say, for the PlayStation 5, we can go much further, of course. Visually, we can add a lot more detail. Graphically, the rendering technique for the underwater scenes is special for the PlayStation 5. Extra details, extra systems, like the wave technique. That's just an example there. They say lighting is better. There's going to be a 60 FPS version on PS5 only. And yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. And I'm obviously happy that 100 million people who have a PS4 are going to be able to play this game, but this thing looked great, and I do wonder if games are going to start being held back by being on current gen or last gen at this point, because God of War, the little tease to our next story, Ragnarok was delayed to next year, and it's coming to PS4, and it's like we're going to be in the second full year, the third calendar year of these systems that launched in 2020, and there's still going to be stuff coming out on PlayStation 4. And I know there's some significant supply issues with the PS5, and maybe they don't want to release all these shiny AAA games and franchises that people care about and have some outrage because they literally can't buy the console to play it on. But I just think I just wonder at what point is it going to end. Gran Turismo 7 is also going to be a PS4 PS5 game, and in the June showcase in 2020 last year for the PS5 reveal, it said that was a PS5 exclusive in the corner for Gran Turismo 7, and now it's just not. So it's a big backpedal, and at some point it does feel a little bit dishonest that some of these games are the reasons people were early adopters of PS5s, and they shelled out $500 for this next gen system, and now all these games are coming to prior consoles, and I don't know how I feel about it. I'm just very torn on it because there's arguments for why it's good and bad, I think, on both sides of it.
Yeah, I look at a game like Horizon, and yeah, the extra fidelity graphically is great. You know, the 60 FPS option that you can only get on PS5 is great. But it also means that when you're designing a game like this, you have to make sure that it works on PS4. And you know, I'm not in that developer room, so I don't know exactly how held back they are by that, but that does mean that maybe they have some ideas that could work on PS5 but just may not be feasible on PS4. And if they had to say, no, we can't do that because we need to release this on PS4 as well, that sucks. Because it should be a next-gen game. And you have Ratchet and Clank that is a PS5-only game. Like, why?
And Returnal is PS5-only, Sony Studio.
and Ratchet and Clank, they have the whole, like, jumping between worlds, and, like, that can only be done with the SSD and the and the PS5's power. Wouldn't it be cool if there was something in Horizon where it's like, this can only be done on PS5 because of the PS5's power? No, it has to be, this game runs it's on PS4 and it runs better on PS5 and looks better.
Yeah.
But still look good, you know.
Yeah, it looks great. The gameplay does look visually stunning, but and I think another point of this is that the full extent of a console is not taken advantage of until years into its life cycle anyways. I mean, look at something like Infamous Second Son compared to The Last of Us Part 2. Like, the differences in what the developers were able to squeeze out of that console is so extreme. And I think that is an argument for, why not for the first few years when games wouldn't look as good as they will in a few years anyways, why not make them cross-gen? I can see that argument. I really did not think God of War 2 was going to be one of those games. I think God of War 1, people love how that game looks on PS4 Pro. It looks incredible. And I think people expected that to be a showcase for the PlayStation 5 when it came out. And now we're not sure that it's going to be. Like, Miles Morales looks good. Doesn't look next gen on PS5. Definitely not. It looks like, this could easily be a PS4 game. The lighting looks nice on PS5, but I'm just wondering when we're going to see Sony go all in with the PS5. Is it going to be when supply gets better?
Possibly,
I don't know.
I would assume so.
Yeah,
a few years in the future, when the technology even advances to make things look even better, and there's more supply, it seems like around that time. So I'm thinking that maybe for the next couple of years, we're going to have to be settling for games built on PS4 to look better on PS5.
Guess maybe the selling point is no loading screens. you play it on PS5,
it's a good
no loading
point.
Screens, which, to be honest, no loading screens plus 60 FPS is a pretty good selling point. But at the same time, I am very much looking forward to these games that are PS5 exclusive, like Ratchet and Clank is going to be, or whatever else they have in the pipeline that's going to be only for PS5.
Yeah, and also important to remember that if you opt for the 60 FPS, you usually have to sacrifice some of the visual fidelity, so that is also a part of it. And maybe that wouldn't be a thing on games that were straight up built for PlayStation 5. I do wonder about that. But yeah, just to kind of wrap up the Horizon thing before we move fully on into God of War, I do want to say that I don't know. I walked away from this a little bit underwhelmed because to me, it's like, yeah, that looks like more Horizon. It has some cool new ads and it's gorgeous, but it was kind of what I expected. Like, it didn't blow me away with anything unexpected. So I really just wanted that release date because I'm like, this is a game I know I'm gonna play. It's kind of a known quantity of what to expect, and it did look great. I'm excited to play it. I'm more excited walking away from that than I was before we had that gameplay, but I just really wish we had gotten that release date because we are in June, and this, I really thought it was going to be the time, and it's just like, it reminds me of that E3, what, 2018 that was, where Sony once again showed off Last of Us 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding, Final Fantasy VII Remake, all this stuff without announcing dates for it. And I'm like, how many times are we going to see Horizon before they give us a date? I just wonder. But I did think the game looked great. I'm excited to play it, and I hope it makes it this year. But I think we're all maybe a little bit doubtful of that.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I've been
Zach's already said
saying
he was doubtful.
it's gonna be pushed since day one. That's like the one opinion that I have.
Kevin, are you doubtful?
I am doubtful that it'll be coming out this year. And if your theory is true about Zelda, why didn't they just wait 2 or 3 weeks? They were close
for the
right,
presentation.
right.
Yeah.
Like I could see that being a possibility, but at the same time, if they were worried about it, just wait until mid-June. Rip out here like June 30th or something, a couple of weeks after, see when Zelda is coming out if it gets announced, and then go your release date from there. Which leads me to believe that it's probably not that, and more so the fact that they're just not 100% certain that it's coming out this year. Again, I don't think it's 100% definitive this isn't coming out this year, but if there was a really good chance it was coming out this year, they would have said it, and they didn't.
Yeah, like even if they just put up 2021 without even committing to a month. Yeah, I have not been skeptical on this one. I really thought it was going to make it this year. I thought that it was going to planned to be the summer game, and then when God of War inevitably got pushed to 2022, it would slot into the fall game. So I thought there would be a slight internal delay, but I really thought it was going to make it this year. But a June showcase, or I guess it was still May when they showed it, but a May showcase without a date, I don't think it's coming this year. I really don't. But that does lead me to wonder what the big fall PS4 game is again, or PS5
PS4. It's a PS4 game.
Yeah,
the big PS4 game.
Because another game announced for 2021 that I don't think we ever thought had a shot is Final Fantasy 16. It's like, well, that could be it. We know literally nothing. Square Enix.
I forgot that got announced for this year.
Yeah.
Which means it'll be coming out in like 6 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah, seriously. So I don't know what it's going to be. Unless I'm forgetting something, I don't really think they have anything in the pipeline. But I'm not sure.
Nothing big.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
I wonder.
And it's not a situation like Nintendo where like we don't necessarily know what's coming, but we've got a presentation in a week or whatever where we're going to see it all. With Sony, it's like, I don't know when they're going to show it off. Maybe they'll have another state of play where it's one game that they're showing off the entire time. We really don't know what they're going to be up to.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about God of War. God of War Ragnarok delayed to 2022. Yeah. I think we have all been acting as if this was a 2022 game. I don't even think we ever thought there was a chance of it making it this year. But I think the big surprise here is that it is also getting a PlayStation 4 version. And Gran Turismo is also joining God of War and Horizon as a cross-gen game, as we mentioned a little bit earlier. So yeah, anything to add that we didn't really cover in the cross-gen conversation with this one?
Zach is the God of War fan, the biggest God of War fan out of the three of us, who would most likely play it on launch.
I really hope I have a PS5 by the time it comes out. I can't imagine it's going to. The first one already pushed the console pretty hard with like the no loading screens.
Yeah.
And I like that they like to push like what a console's capable of, which is why I really wanted it to be built for PS5 to kind of give us some better ideas of what the PS5 can do and make a much more interesting kind of technical game. But now I'm not so sure about that. They could get a lot less gimmicky with it. They're going to have to be because they're building it for PS4 probably. Which means it's probably going to play pretty similar to the first one. I can't imagine how far they could push things. The first one came out 3 years ago.
2018.
So yeah, I mean, PS4 has technology for PS4 games has come a bit of a ways, but I'm not entirely sure it's going to be that big of a stretch on PS4 from the first game. But you never know. We don't know anything about this game, so it's all speculation at this point. I'm just a little disappointed that it's coming to PS4 and PS5 because at that point, I'm sure hopefully a lot more people will have their hands on a PS5. But I'm sure someone out there is excited to play it on PS4.
That does make me wonder how many people are actually going to be picking this thing up on PS4.
I know.
Also, I think a lot of it depends on the stock of the PS5 come, let's say, summer of 2022 when this thing might launch, or whenever they decide to launch it.
Yeah.
But man, if the stock gets any better, like let's say people can more easily get one by spring of 2022, I am curious what those sales numbers are going to be on PS4. Like how many people are very interested in picking this up on PS4. I guess it also depends on how well it runs. But
I suppose that means it won't be a $70 title. It's a cross-gen, right? Cross-gens aren't $70.
You would hope. But
we don't know that.
There's nothing stopping them from saying
because
the PS4 version.
Miles Morales is $10 more on PS5 and PS4.
Oh, okay. So probably.
Yeah.
Oh, it would be a little bit more.
Yeah, I think it would be 60 versus 70.
That sucks.
Yeah, buy the PS4 version, get a free upgrade.
Yeah, and then just pay $10 less. Seems like a pretty good idea.
I doubt that's a thing, but wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, so God of War 2022, no surprises there, but the bombshell is that it is also coming to PlayStation 4.
Kind of funny that that Horizon never got a date of any kind, but they gave God of War one. Like, and then we just.
What do you mean? They said 2021 for Horizon.
Did they?
Yeah, last year. I'm pretty sure they did last year.
Okay.
Yeah. Horizon has always been a 2021 release window.
I thought it was just an assumption.
It's just unlikely seeming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Further we get into a window.
More PlayStation news. It's time for our weekly Days Gone check-in. So also as part of this report, Herman Holst said that Ben Studio, developers of Days Gone, is working on an exciting new IP that builds on top of the deep open-world systems that they developed with Days Gone. Then the studio put out a tweet saying, "We're beyond grateful for your support with Days Gone and are truly honored by the amount of passion our community has shared with us." Blah, 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 blah. Blah. We're very excited to announce today that we are expanding the Ben Studio portfolio with a brand new IP. We hope you embark on this new journey with us, and we can't wait to show you what we've been working on. So this kind of confirms the reports that we've been getting lately, that Days Gone 2 was a failed pitch. Then remember, there's those rumors that they worked on Uncharted or Last of Us, but now it's official. They're working on their brand new game, but it's not Days Gone 2.
No.
Zach,
but it builds on Days Gone 2's.
No. Well, yes,
what they
it
created,
uses
at
Days
least
Gone.
with the.
I really hope it's a
technology.
motorcycle zombie game. That's what I hope. Yeah, it does suck that we're not going to get Days Gone 2. It's very, very, very unlikely at this point, which is fine. I paid nothing for Days Gone 1, so I don't really care about the game that much.
Didn't pay full price.
Not a true fan.
Nope.
They are working on a new IP, which is exciting. I hope it's successful. I don't know if their egos could handle another failure. I don't know what it could be. I'm just glad that they're working on something. New IP building off the engine of Days Gone, which was a little broken given, but still fun the way it played and the way it looked. It looked really good, especially on the new PC release that came out recently. So got high hopes. I love Ben Studio. They're just a fun company to watch. So
eat themselves alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hopefully, this whole building off of what they created with Days Gone means that they will build off of all of the bugs and fix all those for their next
I
release
hope so,
without it being
yes.
Days Gone 2 if it uses the same stuff.
And without the 3 delays that it took for Days Gone to
That
actually come
too.
out.
That as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll move on from that one, though. If you remember the Japan studio news from a while ago that they were kind of refocusing around the team that develops Astrobot, well, that's kind of complete, or at least a new step in it. A new logo has launched for Team Asobi, developers of the Astro series, and you got little Astrobot making up the O in Asobi. So this transformation of Japan studio kind of seems complete. I think on one hand it's sad because they did make a lot of really cool stuff that might now not see the light of day in the future. But on the other hand, more Astrobot is a good thing because both the VR game and the packet on PS5 are both really, really great. So I am excited for more Astrobot, and I hope that we see just a standard Astrobot game, like not one that's like, oh, we need to prove VR is good, we need to prove the DualSense is good. How about just a fully featured full-length 3D platformer starring this guy and this world? And I think that would be a lot of fun.
I would love that so much. Those are some of my favorite platformers, and I just looked at the logo. It's adorable. I love that the Astrobot head for the O. It looks really good.
Cute.
Yeah. Good that at least something came out of Japan Studios dying, and hopefully going along long enough that not only will they make more Astrobot stuff, but maybe they can branch out a little bit more and do some other projects to keep the spirit of Japan Studio alive.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, the big one I'm super excited about. Nintendo announces a 40-minute E3 Nintendo Direct, June 15th, 9 a.m., 3-hour Treehouse show afterward. They're taking that same time slot that they always have. 40 minutes is the same length as it was in 2019, last time there was E3, and that is one of my favorite presentations they've ever done. It was phenomenal. It's where we got Hero and Banjo and Smash. It's where we got Breath of the Wild 2. Luigi's Mansion 3 was there. Link's Awakening was there. There was a ton of stuff in that presentation. It was great. So it's interesting because usually that's what kicks off E3 is Nintendo's presentation, and then they open up the show floor and everyone walks out. But now this is kind of the last event of the E3 digital weekend. So Nintendo's kind of closing the show, which is exciting because they've really, really brought it the last few years. I feel like ever since the Switch, their E3s have been really, really killer. So super excited about this presentation. It says that it's going to focus almost exclusively on Switch software coming out this year. So there'll probably be some teases of what's going to come next year. But I think the big question mark is still if we're getting a Switch hardware announcement before E3.
Right.
Like
yeah,
all
we were
the
talking about
leaks
that
happened last week that we talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it hasn't happened yet.
And yeah, we're a little over, about 2 weeks away, a little bit less than that from this presentation. And if they are going to be announcing that before this presentation, they're starting to run out of time.
Yeah.
Starting to get down to the wire.
You guys probably were not in tune with the Nintendo beat at this point in time. But do you guys remember the Chibi Robo tweet from like 5 years ago? That was
during the Wii U generation.
I
was
do not
paying attention
whatsoever.
It was during the Wii U era, and basically the fans were just getting rabid, pestering Nintendo social media for a Nintendo Direct because they just wanted something. They wanted some sort of news, and there was leaks almost every day about one, and then one day Nintendo just posted this photo of Chibi Robo on flyer.
I like it.
With no context, no words, just that photo, and it was like a really memorable moment of like, yeah, what they're doing. And today I felt very similar vibes from this tweet about Skyward Sword that says, "Qui, say hi to Maki the Kikwi."
I liked that tweet.
in Skyward Sword. And it just feels very similar vibes to the Chibi Robo. Like, you're all expecting us to tweet about the Switch Pro. We'll tweet this stupid picture of this random character from Skyward Sword. So I really liked that today. But yeah, regardless of whether or not we get the hardware announcement before or after E3 or ever, I am very excited for this presentation. We can transition to our predictions after this. I just want to break down. I went through the 40-minute E3 2019 presentation and did some rough math on how much time they spent on every different category of announcement in the E3 2019 Nintendo Direct, and here is what I came up with. They spent about 12 minutes, a little bit more, on previously announced AAA titles. That was like Luigi's Mansion and Pokemon Sword and Shield and Astral Chain and things like that. Previously announced titles they were publishing was about 12 minutes of 40. About 12 minutes was third-party stuff, so that brings us to 24 minutes. About 3 minutes was like introductions and things like that. They introed Doug Bowser as like the new head of Nintendo America, so that brings us to 27. There was about 6 minutes of Smash, 3 minutes for each character reveal. That brings us to 33 minutes. And so that means there was about 7 minutes for unannounced new Nintendo published titles. I think that's a pretty fair format to look at. 7 to 10 minutes of new stuff. That's enough for like 3 minutes of Breath of the Wild, maybe a Bayonetta 3 update, maybe
F-Zero.
a Metroid Prime thing, and some other things we haven't seen yet. So just kind of want to set
previously
expectations
unannounced
with
as
that.
in like we didn't know they existed, or
or like we've seen no gameplay.
Okay.
Like we've seen absolutely nothing. And I think like Zelda, Metroid, Bayonetta fall into that category, as well as things that we have no idea about. So yeah, I'm expecting 3 to 4 maybe totally new things in this, along with updates on like Golf, which is about to come out, Skyward Sword, No More Heroes, Pokemon, things like that. So yeah, Kevin, if we want to transition into our predictions.
Yeah, so
hey, real quick, what did the Chibi Robo on fire mean? Did they ever say what it meant?
No, it was
that
just
Ziplash was terrible.
It was just like a meme. It was just like them dunking on all the fans. Like, we'll just post this random picture of like Chibi Robo on fire. It's like chaos.
All right,
we thought we had
enough.
things to announce. Joke's on you. We're on the Wii U generation.
Gotcha.
We have nothing. We don't have any games.
Yeah.
Get out of here. Also, I'm excited to not get up at 1 a.m. and watch this. The timing is not great for me, but I'm going to try and somehow watch it without getting spoiled in the morning after. Like, I'll have to have like the video open somewhere without seeing the rest
we
of
can
the
just
internet.
like text. I can like message you the link after it airs and gets uploaded or something like that. Yeah.
Have to watch it the morning after.
That
1 a.m. time slot's not great for me, but all right, why don't we get into our predictions? So we have this set up. The two big ones, of course, we've got Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony's. Who knows what they're doing, if they're gonna.
Yeah.
I mean, like, at this point, since it's all digital, you could just have like an adjacent thing. Companies do that all the time. I'm curious why they don't do that, but maybe they have nothing. So we have Nintendo first for predictions. Then we'll get into any Microsoft predictions we have, and then any other company that you have predictions for. We'll get into those after some of the smaller guys. If you have Ubisoft, or if you've got like Square Enix or Sega or any of these people, we'll get into that after. But why don't we start
real quick? Speaking of Sega, there were so you know that like little symbol that Sonic burned into the ground at the end of that trailer, and then it, like turned into this weird
like a rune.
Thing? Yeah. These Sonic fans on Twitter easily made using that font proved that it says chaos. So I just want to throw that out there.
Ooh,
chaos.
Spelled it all out, and yeah. Anyways, don't know what that.
This game is
it's
2.5
a sequel to
hours
Shadow.
of chaos.
Anyways, sorry.
So yeah, we'll start with Nintendo predictions first. Logan, since you are the most in tune with Nintendo, you went through their entire direct. Why don't you start it off with? I
think that's unfair to say, but it's fine.
Okay, I have 3 predictions for what I think the main things are going to be in this direct. So I already talked about what I think the layout's going to be as far as all the other stuff. So that's 7 to 10 minutes that we all really care about, the money stuff that we're there for. I think that smack in the middle of the presentation, Breath of the Wild 2 is going to get a big reveal. I think that it's going to be announced for 2022. I think it'll say spring, and I think it'll end up being a March game. I do not think there will be a specific date, which is really against what they've been doing lately. They don't really show a date until they have a date locked down, but because of how early they revealed this game, I think it's an exception. And I think we're going to see gameplay at the Treehouse. I think that's going to be their lead-off game at that 3-hour Treehouse afterwards is 30 minutes of Breath of the Wild 2. I do not think we're going to get anything else for Zelda in this thing. A lot of people are like, oh, we're going to get a Zelda collection. Why would they cannibalize the sales of Skyward Sword 1 month before it comes out? They're just not going to do that. So that's my prediction for Zelda. Then I don't think that's the one more thing, because we know it exists. I think the one more thing has to be something new, and I really believe it's Mario Kart. I really think Mario Kart 9 is going to come out. If there is a new console coming, I think it makes sense to bundle it with a new Mario Kart. I think that would be the smartest thing that they could do. So Mario Kart 9, I think, is going to be a big fall game, because Breath of the Wild 2 is not coming until next year. We have Pokemon slated for November. I think you're going to see Mario Kart 9 in October. That's going to be an October big Switch release. And then I think that we're going to see the final 2 Smash characters. I think Phoenix Wright, because I had to predict him. I just had to. And then I think the last character
I guess he's not in that game, but they got games coming out.
It would still be him, though, for sure.
The fact that he does have games coming out lends better that he would be in Smash.
Yeah, absolutely. They'll wrap up the pass and the DLC with a new Zelda character to go along with Breath of the Wild 2. I do think that. I think that there's Breath of the Wild Link is a Breath of the Wild character, but other than that, they don't have one in there. And I think that makes sense to wrap up the pass with a Nintendo character, with what will easily be the most talked about game from E3. So those are my predictions. And there will not be a third Fighters Pass. I think this is it. I think this is the end.
I believe he said it.
Yeah. Just keep this going for forever. Zach, what are your Nintendo predictions?
All right, my Nintendo predictions are honestly kind of similar, structured pretty similarly. I think that Breath of the Wild 2 will have gameplay at Treehouse. Yeah, probably. I think we're going to get a trailer with a release window. I think it'll come out this year, end of this year, holiday 2021. I think that I've always said that it's going to come out next year, but I think that I'm going to change it up, because I was going to say 2022, but then Logan took that. So now I'm going to say 2021 just to be a little unique.
So the show can be right in one way, whether
someone's going to get it right. And then watch them just not show Breath of the Wild 2 at all.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I only think someone's guaranteed to be right if Kevin says 2023.
Kevin's going to predict.
Because we have seen Zelda get pushed multiple years.
That's true.
Yeah.
And then I think that the announcement of a new game, not a Mario Kart racer, but an F-Zero racer.
Oh, going back to the F-Zero well.
Also coming out this year, same day as Breath of the Wild 2. I think they're going to come in a bundle. I think it's going to be Breath of the Wild 2 and F-Zero for $80.
Wow, Nintendo.
And it's going to come with the Switch Pro.
What a
for
play.
$80.
The Switch Pro is free.
They're like $40 titles. Yes, the Switch Pro is free. Yeah.
Nice.
And then I also have my prediction for the last 2 Smash characters, because I'm pretty confident they'll both be announced in a similar fashion to how Hero and Banjo were announced. I think they'll start off the show with a World Ends With You character. Don't know any of their names anymore, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be maybe Neo, The World Ends With You. Is that new characters? I think there's a new character. Yeah, I think there's going to be someone from that. And then I think that they're going to wrap up the Smash characters with Waluigi, because he's my most requested, like Logan's Phoenix Wright. So I had to say it. I hope he's in there. I hope they promote him. Like Waluigi promotes into Smash, because he's just a what are they called, trophy? He's just a trophy. Yeah. And that's my whole prediction for Nintendo. I'm sure it'll be great no matter what. Nintendo never disappoints.
Yeah, I mean, Switch
never.
Yeah, never.
Yes, since 2017.
Yeah. As for me, Sports Story is going to make an appearance, and it's going to be a later today launch. I'm going to say a later today launch, because it is a smaller title, and so I don't think it'd be a thing where they push it out too far. But I think that Golf Story and now Sports Story is big enough where it could sit somewhere in that direct. So I'll put that in there. I'm saying Xenoblade Chronicles X gets a Switch re-release.
Ooh.
It's coming out in the latter half of 2021 to get the entire Xenoblade Chronicles series on to Switch. And I know that Monolith has been working on new stuff as well. So get that on there before whatever comes next for Monolith gets announced. And one of the last remaining Wii U games that deserves to come over to Switch. So I'll say Xenoblade Chronicles X shows up. And then my last big thing, it's not Mario Kart. Mario Odyssey, baby. Come on. Mario Odyssey 2.
wish.
Teaser for that.
Ah.
Not going to come out this year. They'll put just a 2022 on that. But that'd be really cool if that was a one more thing, Mario Odyssey 2. I did not think about Smash characters because I'm not in tune with that, so I'll go with Kiryu and SpongeBob as as my predictions.
I'd be so happy.
Yeah, I know we talked about it so many times before, but if they could replicate that three-headed monster of Zelda, Splatoon, Mario next year, it'd be unbelievable. It would be so freaking cool if
that'd be
that
crazy
happened.
if they did the exact same thing. If they had Zelda in the spring and they're like, "Hey, Splatoon 3 is coming in the summer, and then Mario Odyssey 2 comes in the fall," man, that'd be killer to do
it'd
that
be
again.
Unbelievable. Yeah, because those are still three of the best Switch games. And they were just bang, bang, bang right at the start of the system, and yeah, three of my most played and three of my favorites. And if they just here, let's do it again. Absolutely, let's do it again.
Round 2.
Yeah.
I'm down for another round. All right. Why don't we hop over to Microsoft? I'll throw it to Zach first. What do you got?
Because I'm the Microsoft
Xbox
guy.
Well, because I went with
Don't have
Logan
one
first.
small prediction that I don't care about. Okay. Yes. So Microsoft, this is more Bethesda Microsoft.
Right. Yeah, they're doing a joint.
Yeah. So mine's more of a Bethesda thing because I don't care about Microsoft even a little bit. It's
They got
Halo. It's just a
Fable.
bunch of Halo. Who cares? Ooh, Fable. I forgot.
I don't
I'm a
think
bad
that's showing
fan.
up, but they do have
No,
it.
well, now that has to be my prediction. I'm going to predict Fable 4 later today announcement release.
Wow.
Yep. So,
Big
and
deal.
it's going to be cross-platform. So also on PS4.
Also on Xbox
I want to play it.
360. What's your Bethesda prediction?
Okay.
Starfield?
Well, no, I don't really care about Starfield. This is more for Arcane Studios, who's a part of Bethesda. They do announcements at the Bethesda presentation. They're wrapping up with Deathloop, which should already be out, but it's not. It's fine. So I'm thinking that their next move will just be a new Dishonored game, which I'm a fan of. I love new Dishonoreds, and there hasn't been one since 2018. So I think it's time. Or at least an announcement.
You think they'll announce it before their next game comes out? Or is it the fact that it's on a different platform that it would be fine?
I think that so much about Deathloop that they need that with like anything else. I don't think it's going to matter. I don't think it'll affect Deathloop. I just hope that it's not an Xbox exclusive, but I'd understand if it was.
Forcing Zach to pick up
An Xbox. Which I'm already thinking about anyways, so who even cares?
Yeah.
Push you to do it. Logan, you got anything for Microsoft / Bethesda?
I do.
Bunch of Halo.
I think that Starfield will be teased, and it will just be shown with a 2022 date, and it will be less than everybody wants and expects. I have kind of a negative. I think we're a year out from a killer Microsoft presentation. I still think it's a year too early for all these studios they acquired to be ready to show their stuff. So I think this is going to be fine. I think Halo is really going to be the focus again, but to make it different, I think multiplayer is going to be the focus because we have not seen any Halo Infinite multiplayer really. So I think that's going to be the big focus of that game's showing, and November launch for Halo Infinite. And I'm hoping the reception is good. I'm hoping that the year that they took to extend that game's development paid off because, like we've talked about, that game needs to be good. It just has to be.
After this time.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Outside of Nintendo, I'm most excited to see what Halo looks like. And then Elder Scrolls 6 won't be mentioned. We've heard that Starfield's first in Elder Scrolls 6, so I don't even think that will be mentioned. And then I think Fable. I think we're going to get another tease for Fable, and I think it's going to come out next year, 2022.
Wow. Okay.
Yep, fall.
Thank you, Logan.
It's going to get pushed to 23. It's going to get pushed to 23.
Oh, there it is.
2022.
It's probably still a ways off.
Yep, yeah. That's what I've got.
All right, I've got one that's not really earth-shattering. There have been rumors floating around about Forza Horizon 5, and you also got the next installment of Forza Motorsport as well. But I think that because you've got Halo coming out in the fall-winter area of Xbox's release calendar, I think that they'll have Forza Horizon 5 be an early 2022 title. I think that
They aren't Fable and Forza both Playground games.
Playground games, yeah.
think they got different teams, or do you think they put all the
they
racing
do.
people
They
on
do.
the fantasy
They have
game?
two different
Okay.
Horizon Horizon is a big thing for
Yeah.
Xbox, and I think that Halo is huge. It's Halo. We joke about it all the time. It's Halo, Gears, and Forza is the big three of,
Absolutely.
of Microsoft and of Xbox. Now that Bethesda comes in, that may change a little bit, but I think that they wouldn't want to release two of those big titles right side by side. So I think that they would push Forza Horizon 5 to an early 2022 launch to give Halo Infinite some time, or more so to give Forza Horizon 5 some time, because I think people would be more interested in the next installment of Halo than they would be for Forza Horizon 5.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Horizon 5 will be unveiled with an early 2022 launch.
Nice.
All right. The other guys, I'm not sure who's got what companies. Zach, I'm going to throw it to you again. What company are you predicting for here, and what's your prediction?
Square Enix,
okay.
is I got a few. I think Square Enix is going to be very Final Fantasy heavy at this E3. I think that
So they're
going
trying
to
to show off the new Final Fantasy to come out this year?
Yeah, I would hope
Trying?
so, but I think they will show off some Final Fantasy 16, but not a lot. There's been rumors floating around of a Team Ninja Final Fantasy like game that's going to be Dark Souls-esque.
Yeah,
So I think
that's gonna happen.
they'll give a teaser for that kind of game. It's like the people who made Ninja Gaiden and Dead or Alive, so I don't even know what that game's going to look like.
Volleyball. It's just
And-
volleyball.
Yes, it's just Final Fantasy Volleyball, which I'm sure would sell like crazy.
Oh, it would.
And then we've got I want Final Fantasy 7 Remake 2. I want to see something. I want anything. I don't care what it is. I just want to know more, because I think it's time we know more, especially now that Intergrade's right around the corner. I just want some more
Next
information.
week, that really snuck up on us.
I know. Yeah, it did come out of nowhere, which is why I'm kind of in the mood for wanting more on the Final Fantasy 7 front, because it feels like it's been a while. So I think that it's just, and that's all they're going to present, nothing else other than Final Fantasy. And maybe Kingdom Hearts 4, who knows? I don't care.
Well, then they'll just go on and be like, hey, this is how we're ruining Marvel Avengers even more. Here you go.
Yep.
Here's the new update.
Ugh.
Yeah, I wonder where Final Fantasy 16 is, and
I think it's going to get pushed.
It has to be. We
2022.
know nothing about it, and going off of past Final Fantasy projects, whether you're talking about 15 or whether you're talking about the 7 remake, this thing's nowhere near ready. Like,
Oh,
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
the odds of that
And I
coming
think
out
it's
this
going to
year
get
so far.
awkward. It's going to get weird, because it's like, okay, so if 16 is ahead of 7 Part 2 in development, if 16 gets pushed, does 7 Part 2 get pushed? They don't release too close to each other. That's something I worry about. But yeah, I also made Square Enix predictions. I think that I think we are going to see a very short 30-second max teaser for Remake Part 2. I think it's going to start as like, hey, do you guys remember 2 years ago, Square Enix's presentation was half stuff that was already out, and they're like, "Hey, remember this? It's out. Go get it." It was the weirdest presentation.
I don't
I think
remember
it's gonna
it.
be like that again.
Not memorable.
Yeah, it was all stuff that was already out. It was like, "Hey, Builders 2." Oh,
I vaguely remember something about that,
yeah. Dragon Quest 11, that's out. Like it was just all this stuff that
Just
we
reminders
already
to go
knew
pick it
about
up.
or was already out. So I think that's what a lot of this is going to be. I think it's going to be like, hey, Life is Strange, True Colors is coming. Hey, this, what else? I don't even know what else they have.
How much how much
is
more could we know about Life is Strange that we don't already know?
coming. We don't need to know anymore.
Yeah,
We know
why would we
exactly
need
what
to know
that game is going
anymore?
to be. But I think we're going to see like, hey, Intergrade's out. Don't forget, it just dropped like 3 days ago. And also, here's like a 20-second sneak peek.
I
at, like,
bet-
Cloud in the overworld of Final Fantasy VII Remake.
It's gonna be, and this isn't a spoiler because if you don't know what it means, you don't know what it means. It's gonna be a golden saucer. I think it's just gonna be a panning
That'd be
shot of the
cool.
golden saucer.
Yeah, that'd work too. So I'm really sure. I think we're going to see a gameplay trailer for Final Fantasy 16 after that lengthy cinematic trailer last year. I think that we are going to see a new Tomb Raider. I think that whatever comes next after Shadow of the Tomb
Maybe
Raider is going to
Tomb
be
Raider anime.
as well.
I know they're working on that.
Yep, so that's it. I have kind of low expectations across the board, except for Nintendo, who I have way too high expectations of. It's healthy.
Want a new Tomb Raider?
It'd be cool.
Play it.
Kevin?
Don't know what's coming next. Mine is Deep Silver and their parent company, just because they own the rights to Saints Row 5. I think Saints Row 5 is going to be officially unveiled. The only thing we've gotten is basically a tweet from the developers saying it is in development. We are working on it. And what, like Koch Media, the parent company of Deep Silver, I think they announced a while back that they're going to have like 12 or 13 games that they're bringing to E3. And I think that there's a very good chance that Saints Row 5 is one of them. I would guess that it's coming out in 2022, probably in the middle of the year, because we don't know anything about it yet. I think the safest bet would be middle of the year, 2022 at the earliest. But considering we haven't seen any sort of trailer whatsoever, let alone, like there wasn't even an announcement trailer. It was just a tweet. I think that here we'll get an actual announcement trailer and maybe like a story trailer of some kind. But I think that Saints Row 5 will make an appearance at E3.
Nice.
And
I have a Ubisoft prediction.
Oh yeah? What game were they not making political this time?
Yes. Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Oh yeah.
Which I think they showcased 4 years ago.
Didn't Joseph Gordon-Levitt come on screen and talk about something?
He did, yeah.
Oh,
I feel like it's time that they brought that back because I think everyone kind of forgot about it. We all at one point were all gonna play that game, the first one, and I think Logan's the only one who played it even a little bit.
It wasn't very good.
Yeah. So, but it's like a cult hit, right? There's like a cult following.
Yeah.
I haven't even tried the game out. I'm sure I'd love it. I just think it's time that they brought this back, maybe for like some gameplay. I don't even remember what they showed. It was just like a cinematic trailer.
Yeah, I think it was cinematic, or there was a little bit of gameplay. I think
There's been some gameplay. Yeah.
Was Skull and Bones shown off around the same time?
Oh my god!
Just because
I think so.
Before that.
Just because it's funny to me that with Skull and Bones, they have announced on multiple occasions that the game's getting pushed back. Like there are so many news stories that like, yeah, we're pushing it back. And they mentioned Skull and Bones. I feel like they haven't mentioned Beyond Good and Evil 2 whatsoever. Like, it's so weird to me that they keep on saying every single year that Skull and Bones gets pushed back, but they basically ignore Beyond Good and Evil Part 2. They do not mention it. It's just very, very weird to me. I don't get it.
It's a little strange, but hopefully we see something soon. Because maybe I'll play the first one at some point and want a second one. I don't really know.
You've got time.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yes,
I'm not in a rush.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're okay on that. Yeah, it is impending. Next week's show is going to be the last show before everything kicks off for E3. So it'll be
hype.
Final thoughts on that before we dive full into just a bunch of news from E3.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Before that, Zach, do we want to hop into what we've been playing before we wrap this thing up here?
Yeah, so we'll be moving on to what we've been playing this week. Got to try out a couple new games myself personally. I don't know if anyone else has been playing a lot of video games. I think we'll start with Kevin. You look like you've been playing a lot of video games this week. What have you been playing?
It's all Xenoblade.
But
I'm getting close to the point where I stopped on the Wii. So it's going to be a lot of new stuff.
So some new content.
Like I've gotten to the area that I remember being in last. So I have a little bit more stuff going on there.
Cool. And
then it'll be a bunch of new content. So I'm really looking forward to all of this stuff that I just never saw because I stopped playing it back on the Wii. Man, I know that the game's resolution is not perfect and that it has to scale itself even when you're in docked mode, let alone handheld. But man, that game is gorgeous still. Like I had a moment, I was playing it yesterday, where I entered the new area, and they always do something like really cool with like the sky or something. And I looked up and I had to look at the sky for like 20 or 30 seconds. It was just super gorgeous. Like that game, the fact that it's a decade-old Wii game that got brought to Switch and it still looks as good as it does, continues to blow me away. And just the music and presentation, and the world that you're interacting with and all these different locales and how big all of these different areas that you're going to are. It just constantly impresses me that this game is as good as it is and that it's 10 years old and came out on the Wii originally. But yeah, I am very much looking forward to getting into some of the new content that I never got to experience because there's still at least half the game left. I think 21 hours in, so I should still have at least half the game left, if not more. I've heard it's about a 60-hour game, 60 to 70 hour if you're just going for main story. So, yeah, I'm excited to get to that. But that's really all I've been playing.
Awesome. Logan, what have you been playing this week?
Virtually
Yourself?
nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, I've been
Played a
very
couple
busy.
things together,
Yeah.
which I can talk about.
Yeah.
First, I'll mention though that I did start Titanfall 2's story campaign. This is a game I borrowed from Logan because I heard that the story campaign was actually pretty decent, and I didn't really know anything about this game. So, but I love myself a good heart-wrenching story campaign, so I figured I'd try it out. I don't play a lot of FPS, so this is my first time diving back into the genre after a while. I do like the way it feels. I think the shooting is handled pretty well. There's a good variety of guns, and the wall running, which is I think the main core mechanic of the game, is actually really fun. I think it adds a lot to the environment. Hopping around different areas, I think that's really fun. I'm not very far in this game, but I just got to the point where you get into your mech for the first time, and I started wiping out enemies with the mech pretty easily. I don't know. There was like a mech on mech boss fight that you do right away, which wasn't particularly difficult. So I'm excited to see how far they push those fights with the mechs. And I don't really know how much gameplay is in the mech compared to being outside the mech. So I'm excited to see how that balances out. Because I do like playing outside the mech a lot. So I hope I'm not forced to be in it too often. But we'll see. Those are just my first impressions. Yeah,
Okay.
and the story's been pretty good so far. I can see how it's trying to be pretty heart wrenching, just given the amount of people that have died so far. But I'll have more on that in the future. And then June, PlayStation Plus has rolled around, and Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown, the Virtua Fighter 5 remake built in the Yakuza engine, has come out. It's free for PS Plus. I was planning on picking this game up regardless because this is a game originally came out 15 or so years ago, that I've always wanted to try, but never got around to as a fan of those more grounded 2D fighting games. I've never even tried out the Virtua Fighter series, but I've always had my eye on it. So I really wanted to pick this up, and the fact that it was free for the month was just a huge bonus. So as soon as that went up on June 1st, I downloaded it. And tried it for the first time. It is very slow for a fighting game. Logan can attest. We played a little bit together. He downloaded it. Is not built for long range multiplayer with your friends. It's built for local co-op and fighting random people on the internet. We'll get into that in a second. I'll talk more about how it plays. The game doesn't have really a lot of features. It does have an arcade mode where you play through 8 or so fights, leading into a final boss, but there's no story involved. There's zero story in this game. It's all fighting. And then there's ranked matches online where you rank up your level. And then there's room matches where you can just create a room and have people enter your room and do tournament style fights or just one-on-ones, however you like that. And those are basically all the modes in the game. Well, one of the things I think this game does that stands out from other fighting games is that the practice room where you can train as a character has a pretty in-depth training system that teaches the game really well. I didn't go through the whole training, but I've heard that a lot of people find it very easy to understand. So I think that's good because that's where a lot of fighting games struggle, is in teaching the mechanics, a streamlined way of teaching the mechanics to newcomers. Especially in the practice rooms, they kind of just let you do whatever you want, and you have to read a long list of commands that are very confusing. That's the norm, so I'm glad they branched out and did an actual training. This game looks really good for being a 15-year-old game. They remade the whole thing, so it looks great. The roster isn't terribly small. It's a good amount of characters that you can choose from, a good amount of stages, so no problems there. It's a pretty fun game. I find that it's easy to cheese your opponents. I did a few matches online with a character I grew particularly fond of because he was really cheesy, and I just spammed a couple moves over and over, and I had never lost. I just won like 3 times in a row, and I gave up. And I was the luchador. His name's El Blaze. It's kind of a stupid name, but I like luchador characters in fighting games. So Logan and I decided to try it out earlier today. He downloaded the game. We tried to I tried to invite him. You can't invite a person to your room. I had to create a room, set a passcode, and then there was no way for me to invite him to my room. He just had to find it, and there was no way for him to search for my specific room, even though we're friends.
I just have to sift through all lobbies.
There's literally no way for him to find my room.
Yeah, it's garbage.
So eventually he found me.
You have to pick your character before you enter the lobby. So once you're in the lobby, you can't change your character. And we were fighting on the same stage over and over.
And the room battles are only in one single stage. You can't change the stage, and you can't change your character while you're in the room.
Oh my god!
So you have to just So if Logan wanted to back out and change character, he'd have to find the room again. Yes. So we only did one character versus one character on the same stage. But stupid. I showed Logan the cheese, and it worked on him too. And then I tried to learn a little bit in that fight.
And I don't. Cheesed you.
Exactly. I tried grappling him. He was too fast for that. So
it's too cheesy.
But I like the way it plays. I'm glad I finally got to experience a Virtua Fighter, especially for free. You can buy it's kind of like you texture the game like one of the earlier Virtua Fighters. It costs like $10. It's DLC. So if you're more nostalgic for the earlier Virtua Fighters, I believe you can pay for that. And if you wait, I believe this game is $20, $30 with the extra pack included. I'm not sure. But yeah, I recommend picking it up if you're a fan of fighting games. It is still very fun, and it looks like a Yakuza game. It really does. Even the text, Logan mentioned the text boxes were exactly like the font from Yakuza. So
yeah,
it does kind of feel like a Yakuza game. And they added a bunch of particle effects on the punches, I believe, that is more Yakuza. So that was pretty fun. Don't see it being a game I sink a lot of time into. Especially since there's no story or anything. It's all just online competitive, which isn't my biggest jam. So I'll probably play other fighting games more so than this one. But it's just nice to have, especially since it was free. And then other than that, Logan and I bit the bullet and I grinded all the way up to HR 100 so Logan and I could fight the new monster in Monster Hunter. Which is it's a nice new mechanic that everyone doesn't have to be the HR, just one person.
Yeah.
So I got there. We fought it. It was a very fun new monster. I like him a lot. His name is Valstrax. He's a jet engine monster where he just blasts about. He's very fast, and then he has this move where he launches up into the skies and then crashes down on you like a comet, which is a pretty neat mechanic. This guy was introduced in Generations Ultimate, the game before World. So he's a 4th gen monster, not too old, but I think he's a fan favorite. So I'm glad they added him since this was our first chance fighting him, since we never made it nearly that far in Generations Ultimate.
Yep.
And now with that, it unlocks a bunch of new quests that are advanced labeled, supposedly a little harder.
Oh, you have to be there to do it. Okay.
No, he doesn't. He just wants to be, because the way it works is that even though he does the quest with me, we don't think it checks it off for him, so we'd have to redo them anyways when he gets there.
Oh god.
So we're just gonna wait, because he's just doing the grind to 100.
What was there, just like a cheese level or something?
There's some ways, yeah. There's some strategies.
Yeah, there's a way to do it. It's the crappy rampages. That you have to do over and over again.
Yeah.
So I just listened to a podcast and I just did it for like 3 hours. But we got there. So hopefully there's no more level requirements in this game after that. I think that's probably the last one now that the game is technically finished.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
What's the level cap now? See. Is it
unlimited?
999.
Unlimited. Okay, so then
well, I assume it's 999.
Yeah.
Time to grind.
People get to 999. It's not unlimited. People do it quite frequently, I assume.
Put in hundreds of thousands of hours.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're out there.
But I think that'll do it for what I've been playing. I think that was it for Logan too.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. I think that will do it for us. Any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
I'm excited for Mario Golf. There's some new gameplay that people were getting to try out, and it looks pretty cool.
Does look good. Yeah.
It's fun.
Zach?
I'm excited to lose to Logan and Mario Golf.
Oh yeah.
That'll be great. Yeah, that game looks good. I am looking forward to it, and it should make an appearance at E3 as kind of its final hurrah before it comes out. So
Yep.
Hopefully
some
some
left to show off.
Pokemon Legends, hopefully.
Yeah,
what's called?
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see what state that's in. Yeah, Pokemon could make an appearance of some kind. But yeah, that is going to do it for us on this week's episode of Ode to Games. We're here on Thursdays on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, other podcast streaming services that you may use. We're on Twitter at Ode to Games, Twitch Ode to Games as well. You can send an email to odetogamescast@gmail.com. For Logan and Zach, I'm Kevin. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next week.